Democratic Party Zohran Mamdani has defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo in the New York City's mayoral primary on Wednesday. Now, this is a political upset that's being seen as quite startling for this 33-year-old state representative, who's now become the city's first Muslim mayor if he wins the general election, which is scheduled to be held in November. But there's been controversy and lots of questions being asked about Zohran himself. Now, who's Zohran Mamdani? He's the son of India-born filmmaker and Padma Bhushan awardee Meera Nair, born to Indian-Ugandan academic Mahmood Mamdani. Now, in a Truth Social post, President Trump described Mamdani as a, and I quote, 100% communist lunatic, unquote, further saying, him being on his way to becoming mayor was ridiculous. Quote, he looks terrible, his voice is grating, he's not very smart, he's got AOC +3, dummies all backing him, and even our great Palestinian senator crying Chuck Schumer is groveling over him, unquote. Now, this is part of Trump's Truth Social post. The larger question is, should Bharat be concerned if this controversial Democrat wins? There are many closer homes saying in our own cities we don't have mayors. Why are we so bothered about Mahmood Mamdani? Now, here's why. Mamdani's repeated attacks on India's elected leaders may strain Bharat-US relations. He led anti-CAA protests on December 18th, 2019 and 7th of March 2020. He had alleged ties and has alleged ties to Khalistan-led rallies against the Ayodhya Ram Mandir on the 6th of August 2020. So Zohran Mamdani has also made repeated public statements critical of Bharat's domestic policies, particularly regarding Kashmir and the CAA, often echoing narratives hostile to Bharat. Now, his position may offer legitimacy and platform to separatist voices and anti-India lobbyists within the US and especially New York City, and of course the American policy-making spaces. Now, Zohran Mamdani's socialist policies like rent freezes may conflict with Bharat's market-driven economic approach. Is there much more to it? Now, we have a Republican candidate, Eric Adams, up against him. What's going to happen with the New York City mayoral polls? How critical is it? Let's try and ask Professor Lavanya Vemsani, who plies her wares in the US of A, and she's an author herself. She's been tracking these developments very actively. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, senior fellow IPCS, should also join us. But Professor Vemsani, namaste. Thank you for your time. Your thoughts? Why is this becoming such a big talking point? Indu Vishwanathan herself has also written a long post as a South Asian living in New York City, why she's concerned. So, your thoughts?
2 points here. He's a concern for India as an anti-Hindu activist. He has embraced all the talking points of anti-Hindu left in New York, in US. As you have mentioned, Khalistani points, as well as, he embraced everything that's anti-Hindu elements in the US. That's one. The second thing is, he doesn't show any real program for the US other than offering a few freebies, which is also concerning for a large city like New York. Any changes in tax structure or any changes in actual things might affect the business communities, business in New York, and really might adversely affect New York. So the two concerns are, it might affect Hindu community, but it might also affect the larger New York community, New York business community especially, because his anti-capitalist policies are a concern to the larger community of New York. On top of that, he embraces this leftist rhetoric and anti-Modi personalist attacks. Personalist attacks are a real concern against an elected prime minister. Which cannot really be tolerated. So lots of concerns, lots of red flags. But this is only a primary. So we have to wait and see how many people vote in a primary. It's just like 5 to 7% of the people. So I don't think this is the end of the game yet. But this candidate is highly concerning, no matter what.
Well, we were trying to get Indu on our broadcast, but that's not happened. But I'm just going to quote from what she's written, and it's very interesting. She's saying that his words belie a character, I'm quoting a portion, a character that is performative, opportunistic, and deeply undemocratic. He is not a truthful voice of the marginalized, although this is exactly the story he has crafted to rise to power. Mamdani is a projection of an illiberal, anti-intellectual left-wing authoritarianism that has sunk its teeth into progressive politics. The kind of authoritarianism that makes me feel deeply pessimistic about the future of my party. So she's a Democrat herself, and she's upset with his rise. So who are the people who are actually backing him then, Lavanyaji? Abhijit Iyer Mitra is also with us.
AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and her group. So Alexandria is slowly crafting her own niche following in New York, and she's opposing Chuck Schumer. So this can be seen as a rift within the Democratic Party, in which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, is trying to wrest the power for herself, for her own faction, from Chuck Schumer's faction. So they're really vocal against Chuck Schumer. So I see this as a big crisis within the Democratic Party rather than an election issue. This is really a crisis within the Democratic Party itself.
So it's a crisis within the Democratic Party itself, and then Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Indu Vishwanathan further writes, very interesting, look at his utterances. So there is a lot of activity in New York City when it comes to Bharat, and there is a huge linkage. And he says one of the most striking examples of how Mamdani does this, that is, he lies and projects the lies as truth, is his recent claim that there are no more Muslims left in Gujarat in India. This isn't just inaccurate or a gentle exaggeration to a land larger, but a more important point. It is the point that it is a deeply irresponsible falsehood. Gujarat is the home to 7 million Muslims today, nearly 10% of the state's population. To put that in perspective, there are more Muslims in Gujarat than there are in the entire US of A. Now, this is how she is now saying, I have a problem with this guy because all he is doing is lies, lies, and lies. The Democrats turn around and say Trump is only lying. Trump is a liar. But how is it that they are championing another liar here? Abhijit Iyer Mitra, from their own ranks.
This fellow is championed by all the people that lost the Democrats the 2024 election, which they had on their radars not to lose again. The problem is there is one particular wing of the party, the extreme socialist left wing, as championed by people like AOC, who have projected this person onto the Democratic candidate. The problem is he has not just alienated Hindus and Indians, he's also alienated Jews. He was spearheading the global intifada and things like that. So if you remember, Eric Adams, who is still apparently the mayor, he is now running as an independent. And today I'm seeing that people in droves, there was a traffic jam, there was a full log jam outside Eric Adams' office because Democrats are queuing up now to give Eric Adams an extension. They want to support him instead of going after Zohran Mamdani. Now, Zohran Mamdani is an extremely carefully choreographed and curated character. When you have an anti-colonialist professor as your father and a filmmaker as your mother, you understand what ticks, what does not. You understand the language of this anti-colonial movement. And from your mother, you understand camera angles, storytelling. It doesn't matter if it's a lie. It's a story in his mind, right? This is one great... this is his version of Mississippi masala. It's just Hudson masala, I guess. Hudson on the New York masala, right? He thinks this is funny. It isn't. But all his lies are coming out. The kind of alarm we're seeing even from Democrats in New York is quite heartening. And what are the lies he's catching on to? They're not catching on to the global intifada part where he wants to kill off Jews. They're not catching on to the part where he calls Hindus bastards. They're catching on to the lies he's telling with respect to his powers and the dangerous megalomania. First, he says he's going to increase taxes on that 1%, the top 1%. The mayor of New York does not have the right to do that. You know who has the right to do that? an assembly, a New York assemblyman, what would be an MLA in India, a legislative assemblyman, has the right to pass that motion in the New York assembly. Did he do it as long he was assemblyman? No, he did not. So he's talking about things he cannot do as mayor. The second thing he says is, I will order Netanyahu to be arrested and I will order Modi to be arrested. This is not a power that the New York mayor has. The police have the right to arrest if they see a crime being commissioned. The prosecutor general has the right to order an arrest if they see a premeditated crime, but that is not a power that lies with the New York mayor. Increasingly, I believe, I certainly hope from what I'm seeing, that people are wisening up to this demagogue. This is just another, this is the Muslim version of Hugo Chavez, let's put it that way. And we all know, and New York is going to become the new Venezuela.
But are there no politicians? So I correct myself when I said Eric Adams was a Republican, but he may get support from both sides. He's a Democrat now contesting as an independent. So there's no Republican challenger. Bill Ackman has said he will back a challenger, but there's no Republican. So is the politics bereft of quality people, Lavanya Mamdani, in the US of A?
I'm leaning more towards supporting a Republican candidate, and I'm actually supporting Bill Ackman for mayor. So hopefully some candidate would come up from the Republican side. But for now, though, Bill Ackman said he would support Eric Adams. So Eric Adams definitely is a favorable candidate among the slate of candidates that are there. So unless some candidate comes up from the Republican side, like Bill Ackman, I would really pin my hopes on Eric Adams rather than Mamdani. Mamdani might have won the primaries, but I don't see that as the end of the game. So he might show this alternative reality. He might create this screen persona. He might create all these falsehoods that might seem like a reality. So it's like a movie set. He's creating a movie set and projecting himself as larger than life character, which is possible only in the alternate reality. Because in real life, he hasn't achieved anything. He hasn't done anything. He's a mama's boy. So he did some media gigs with his mom, and that's all he has to his credit. He's projecting himself as larger than life, using the screen casting and using the media. But
let's say, sorry, I'm interrupting you because I'm just trying to understand. Let's say if he becomes mayor, how is it going to hurt Bharat's cause?
It is definitely
because many people are asking, it's a mayoral election in New York City. How does it matter to us? We don't have a mayor. There is no mayor in Mumbai. There is no mayor in Bengaluru. Why are we worried about a mayor in New York City? How does it affect us?
Clearly, the effect is 0.02% because do you remember the London mayor has permitted somebody to fly this balloon, Trump balloon, when he was visiting London as a head of the state, U.S. state? Did he do anything to Trump? Nothing. He visited the Queen, he visited the palace, he was received well, he was, met by droves of people. So,
but it hurt
as
London.
a mayor, it's a really not an effective position to take on a head of a state. So all he could do is maybe fly a balloon. Nothing much, nothing more than that. He can't change Indo-US relations. He can't affect how Modi is seen in the US. He cannot change the tax policies, tax code, or he cannot do anything that he's saying. So all he could do is, just create this alternative persona for himself and try to project himself as larger than life, which is not true. It doesn't affect India in any way. India's overall outlook in the world, Indian Prime Minister's overall outlook in the world, it doesn't affect at all. It only shows him as a fool.
Yeah, but it can create pinprick moments or certain subtle instances of embarrassment where goons are given a free run. He's seen to associate even with the Khalistani goons. Does he then give a free run for such elements when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits New York City, when there is a pro-Bharat something which happens there in terms of a soft engagement between America and Bharat. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, is that a concern? Or also the way politics will be steered? He's mayor tomorrow, he may be somebody else, he may be a senator or he may be a congressperson, or he may, he may move to a different rank. And is that also showing the shape that American politics is taking?
Yeah, so look, the issue is the police commissioner of New York serves at the pleasure of the mayor of New York. And he has that power, as the Democrats normally do, is that they appoint their own cronies, outright cronies. The real fear is what he does with the police, selective enforcement policies. Remember, Rudy Giuliani had a huge impact on, zero crime, zero tolerance policing and things like that. He can declare full tolerance policing, which means you can't prevent things from being stolen. You hand power to gangs and things like that. You prevent the police, if they attack Hindus, you prevent the police from prosecuting them and so on and so forth. He can lay down guidelines. He can't command the mayor, but he can certainly lay down certain guidelines and things like that, which won't affect India as much as it will affect Hindus, who make up about 3% of New York. And this is very clearly a guy who has a visceral hatred for Hindus, presumably brought on by his father and mother and their past histories in India and Uganda, wherever. That really is the problem. The second problem is the pinpricks. He can similarly have some humiliating stuff sent up in the air, like Dr. Vemsani said. He can have a very insulting blimp. Or, it's very common in America for people to hire these airships and balloons to, for wedding greetings, baseball game greetings, things like that. Do things like that, which will, that's more showmanship. What worries me is this is a man associated with criminals, with a very easy relationship with lying and fakery, from party that is highly nepotistic and corrupt, with a great propensity to unleash violence, with a past, some kind of a raging hatred to unleash that violence, and the ability to dissociate himself from it.
Point well made. Lavanya ji, final word?
So his personality is concerning, as Abhijit has said. He might associate with these violent elements, might be like San Francisco. There is a concern for violence. But other than that, his reach is limited. As far as international relations are concerned, security of international leaders are concerned, especially Modi, because the security arrangements for the central leaders, great leaders, are done by central agency, FDA. So as far as his political threats, his political projects are concerned, his power is limited. What happens in the future, we don't know. Does AOC's group win within the Democratic Party? That needs to be seen. We have to wait and see what happens with that, with the far left faction of Democratic Party. That's a concern for Democratic Party. But as far as the candidate is concerned, too many red flags, too many falsehoods, too many larger than life persona projections, which are a concern. Other than that, I don't think it affects U.S. relations.
Right.
It might, it might help the violence, but that's a problem for New York.
It's just a primary. It's just a primary yet, as you said, that there are many Democrats who don't want him there. He doesn't have popular support, so we'll have to wait and watch what happens, how it unfolds. But we've put it out there for our viewers why we had this conversation. Thank you very much, Abhijit Iyer Mitra and Professor Vemsani. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.